Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be talking about binge-worthy shows to watch while everyone's stuck inside doing nothing. Everyone's been furloughed and jobless, got nothing to do,
Can't go anywhere.
can't go anywhere.
See people.
It actually just started raining. You can't really see it, so this is the perfect atmosphere to just do nothing, watch something, spend your
That's right.
entire day watching some show, and we got the picks. We got the picks for you guys, so make sure to give this video a like
Hell yeah.
and share with your friends if you like it, and subscribe, of course. James, would you like to go first?
Oh, sure. I guess one of my picks would have to be Silicon Valley off HBO. I know not everyone has HBO, but
I
for the
don't,
elites,
so
for the elites out there that do,
okay.
it's it's probably one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. It's Thomas Middleditch, Kumail Nanjiani, T.J. Miller, like all these people that are kind of popping up in comedy now and everything. Kind of, I not necessarily got their start, but got more into popularity through this show and everything. But it's all about this guy Rick who starts his own tech software for originally music storage, and then he expands to everything else, and then it eventually becomes its own internet. And that's so he starts his company, and it's all about him like battling through trying to beat the odds in the tech world and everything like that. But it's just so unbelievably hilarious. I mean, TJ Miller is pot smoking entrepreneur that kind of just has all these people that actually do tech and everything come to him with different ideas, and if he likes it, he takes 10% and lets them live in his house and kind of work on it. But
Okay.
he's just kind of always, he's just this like big fat dude always walking around in a robe and Speedo, like smoking a bong.
He left at a point, right? Have you seen those episodes without him?
Yes.
Are those good? Has the show changed a lot without him?
Yeah, that's actually a point that makes the show worth binging, because there's shows like Two and a Half Men where they have one character or a couple characters that, like, if one of them left, it would kind of defeat the purpose of the show and everything like that. And you would think it would be that way with his character Ehrlich, but after he left the show, I mean, it really only continued to get better, and it wasn't because they didn't have him. It just the story changed and everything like that, and
Sure, sure.
other characters that were really funny and not looked at as much were brought more into the light and everything like that, so you see more of them. But yeah, no, it's just it doesn't get boring, it's like, it seems like one of those things at the end of every season where you're like, all right, cool, they like concluded it, it's done, and if they start something else, it's going to be kind of like whatever put together storyline just for content. But no, it's something, that it all very much makes sense, the problems that he had throughout this venture. And the also the finale. The finale was not disappointing, and it's very, very like conclusive, which is nice for me. Like, because
Nice.
whenever shows leave me open-handed, I mean, like The Sopranos, but
Sure, sure,
or
yeah.
I'm just kind of like, damn. But
uh
yeah, no, it was a really good show. It's one of those things too where it got very popular, but it's not one that you're gonna go and look up and see spoilers everywhere you look. You can't avoid them on the internet.
sure.
So I mean, yeah, it's definitely, I'd give that a watch for sure.
Nice. That actually kind of segues into my first show, which I'm currently watching. I haven't finished it yet, but Community, in the sense that it started some people's careers or kind of jump started them a little bit. Because at that point, Donald Glover, I think, was just a writer for 30 Rock. He may have been maybe on a few episodes or doing stand up at the time, but this was like his first kind of big show. Allison Brie and Joel McHale, or is it just Joel Hale? I think Joel McHale sounds better.
I think Mikhail is right.
Yeah, he was just doing some like weird show on E. And then that's been a really fun show, man. It's interesting enough, but it's light enough where you can just watch a ton of it in one go. And from what I've heard, once Chevy Chase and Donald Glover leave, the show kind of gets a little worse. But that's also because Dan Harmon got fired after season 3, I think. So season 4 didn't have him, and then season 5 and 6 were brought back. Season 6, I think, was on Yahoo, so it had a lot of weird internal problems, but a really funny show. I just watched the D&D episode, which is really great, and there's some really great parts, like the paintball fight, I think, was great. The giant blanket fort that's like going throughout the entire dorm building, like blanket forts and stuff, was really cool. But my girlfriend and I started watching it, and we watched like through 2 episodes, and we were both not really feeling it. But I kept watching it, and definitely I think after episode 4 is when it kind of gets picking up. And it definitely is. It's a show that kind of has to grow on you a little bit. I think it's a very unique show that I get why maybe the first couple episodes you're like, okay, this is kind of it took them a little bit for the characters to grow, which obviously they can't just one episode after, like the second episode, they can't just be fully developed characters, but it was like, all right, this guy just wants to have sex with Britta. Britta doesn't, but they're kind of like budding a little bit. There's like the will they won't they. This character's kind of two-dimensional. Chang is just a Chinese person saying Spanish words, but if you give it time, that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
I hit my desk. Hope you didn't hear that. But it definitely grows, and it's a very, very unique show, and very funny.
Yeah, I watched the first episode of that. It very much seemed like they were really trying to cram in like personalities into the pie. They were kind of just like really wanted to show like this is this guy, this is this guy. So it was kind of
Yeah.
how they, kind of over the top like corny portrayal of themselves for what they might be in the following episodes. Again, yeah, I only watched the first one, but
Yeah.
no, yeah, it seemed. I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about that show.
It is it's a really good show, and I definitely, I don't know, it's not a typical show where it's like, okay, yeah, at this point it should be like this, because they do a lot of genre bending, and their episodes are all really, really unique. There was this Halloween special where they become zombies, sort of, because of food poisoning. And the gang, or the study group, because the gang is Always Sunny. You can't call the community
Right.
people the gang.
Right, the community.
The community study group, they're like,
Yeah.
the zombies are starting to get after them, and they're just like socking them in the face and like hitting them with chairs, and like, we have to go. And that kind of stuff where they take very small things and exaggerate, or they make the stakes very high. Oh man,
Yeah.
Hilary Duff. Hilary Duff was in an episode where she is making fun of Britta and Annie and Shirley. So they get Abed to basically just diss like everyone in school, and basically like crumble the bitchy mean girls kind of clique. But then Abed becomes the real bitch, and he has to learn a lesson. So stuff like that.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, that's kind of one of the things about another pick I had, Man Seeking Woman, another show on Hulu. They take, very small concepts and then, drive them to be, these over the top, just ridiculous scenarios throughout the entire show.
That's a great
it's
show.
I love it. It's funny because, they take real life situations, like you're watching the show and the whole underlying thing that they're talking about, all that is usually very relatable, going on a blind date and then they
Mm-hmm.
end up being, they always tell you how bad could it be and it ends up being really fucking bad, or like
Yeah.
you know or the heavy, like, bro code rules you're supposed to follow with your guy friend, and how that always gets choppy in a relationship, and how you might have like a jealous best friend and everything, like, that's like, upset about the lack of time they get to spend with you and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
But no, just overall, and what I like about that show is every episode gets more and more intense and over the top. Like, you think that it's gonna get corny and everything, but it's not. It's always like really well done. It's always, really funny, really interesting. Eric Andre's the supporting role in that, and he's a very funny guy. Can't really go wrong with that.
No, sir.
Um, but yeah, no, just every episode is just like breaching a whole new level of what he's got the parents, the overbearing parents that want to meet his girlfriends, so they have him strapped to the strapped to an electric chair, like like making him text her on Facebook and shit.
Mhm.
He's like, invite her over for dinner, honey. Shocking him.
It's been a while since I've seen that. I got really into that show in college, freshman year, but this
Yeah.
isn't my pick. But since you're interested in and you like that show, he did. Same guy, Simon Rich, did a show on TBS with Steve Buscemi and Daniel Radcliffe called Miracle Workers, where Steve Buscemi plays God, and he basically is like, hey, Earth is stupid. I'm just going to blow it up. And some angels and people who work at heaven are trying to convince him to like save the earth, and also they have to perform a miracle as like a bet with God. He's like, if we do this, you won't blow up Earth. And they have to get these two people together to save Earth. And it's very
What
similar.
was the name of that show?
Miracle Workers.
Miracle Workers, because that sounds super
Yeah,
familiar.
it
I
came
know I
out a year or
haven't seen.
so ago, and
Yeah.
they're doing like an anthology series with it, where it's the same actors but different time periods, and I'm sure different genres. I think
Huh.
this they're doing like a medieval thing, same kind of thing where it's a similar style of humor and exaggerations. It's really good.
Wow. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
But that doesn't count as my list, you guys. We have 3, and I still have 2. Sorry, that was so stupid and cringy. But anyway, you know what isn't stupid and cringy? Afterlife on Netflix with Ricky Gervais.
Fuck that segue. Yeah.
This
Nice.
I think this show is way different than what we've talked about so far. It's much more, I would say, grounded in the sense that, Man Seeking Woman's a little fantastical and
Right.
fantasy inspired. So is
Right. Like
Community.
nothing cannot happen in this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Afterlife, for those who haven't seen it, it's Ricky Gervais plays this character in a small England town where his wife died of cancer, and he is basically grieving, and he realizes,
Hilarious.
yo, dead wife, comedy. But he basically realizes that like nothing matters, and that since he hates everything and like nothing matters to him anymore, he's just gonna do whatever he wants, and at a point he'll just kill himself because he's like, who cares if I'll just be an asshole, and if for whatever reason I'm like, oh, I can't take it anymore, I'll just kill myself. Doesn't matter. The second season just came out. I started that. Gonna watch more.
So he
Today.
didn't kill himself yet.
He hasn't. the first season is a lot about him and sort of the characters in his life, his coworkers and friends, and people are trying to teach him basically that like, yeah, your wife died, but there's still life out there. It's still worth living. And by the end of season
Right.
1, he kind of starts to turn around, and in season 2, he kind of seems back on his old ways. It's a sad show. I don't think it's a heavy show. You know what I mean? Where you watch it and you're like, all right, one episode, I'm done. Like I can't. I gotta watch some cartoons now. I gotta do something to make myself. I gotta
Right.
eat some chocolate. This is a sad show, but there is definitely a lot of life and humor in it. It's
Right.
a very human show without trying to sound vague.
No, I get what you're saying. It's, there's like a lot of, it's kind of just like, living day to day life, while like overall something shitty's going on. Kind
Yeah.
of like, it's because that seems like the concept of the show is sad. I mean,
Yeah, and
but
Ricky Gervais does a really good job, I think, with shows like that, with The Office, where it captures just run in the mill people, their ordinary lives, and this is similar, where he's just a journalist at a free newspaper in a small town. It's like no one is extraordinary or crazy, outrageous in the show. It's very human.
right, it's not like a story where this dude's like, super important in it and something's about to happen or whatever.
Yeah, it's the
Right.
mundane, it's the normal, average people, I guess.
I like stuff like that. It makes it, it's kind of something you watch along. You can kind of put yourself in the position and be like, like, how would I act in scenarios and everything like that, instead of just like, seeing some weird shit on Man Seeking Woman, like a Power Alien Fighter, whatever at the end.
Yeah. So James, what about you?
But
What's your third pick?
my third pick's uh also another kind of deeper show. Definitely a sad one. Just kind of as you go along, it's not necessarily a sad concept, but Californication, the one we both loved. It's about a
Yes.
writer who moved from New York to LA. He had some recent book success. Um, and then the book turned into a movie that he hated. So now he's all upset about that, and it's causing severe writer's block in him. So it's all him kind of going and trying to figure out how to write again. But he's also, an alcoholic. He also has serious issues with his ex, and not necessarily issues yet with his daughter, but just the fact that this his ex is trying not to have him around all the time,
Yeah.
other than specifically to kind of pick her up and go somewhere. And
They have a tough relationship, being that he has
right,
his
yeah,
problems, right? Yeah.
right, exactly, due to his personal life issues. But no, it's one of those shows. It's very funny. There's a lot of different things that go on, and it's another kind of like real life scenario where no one's absurdly extraordinary. Like, he was a writer that's known, but he's not like, one of the most famous authors in the world, like, or whatever
Right.
in the show. But yeah, it's very real. It's him getting into these situations with people he meets along the way, where when he's in a stoop and someone's right down there with him, and just they have these little kind of sad um interactions that are like very small relationships, not necessarily with like other women, but that's a lot of it. But just other people, small friendships, like all this stuff that's all short lived, because he's still too about himself, and he's very self-destructive and everything like that. but I don't know, it's a show that made me feel, like I watched it and I became very like emotionally attached to a lot of the characters and everything like that, which isn't something that happens to me for a lot of shows. So that definitely says something about how good of a job they do kind of painting a picture of people and everything. Also,
Yeah.
Rick Springfield's in for a little bit. He's like as himself.
Oh,
He's just
okay. I don't
like an
remember that.
oh no,
Yeah.
yeah, he's literally he dates Marcy. He gets like it's when him and Marcy are all on coke together. The bald guy's wife.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, right.
she
Okay,
dates that
okay.
rock star. That's Rick
Yeah.
Springfield. But
Okay. You know what's weird? Californication kind of has, I don't know if it's a problem, but it has the same thing that Shameless has to me, where once a woman enters a scene, like a new female character, you're like, oh, okay, she's about to have sex with someone. Because that's what this show is. And I
right,
feel like anytime, he's at the supermarket, he's talking to his friend, his ex, his daughter, and then some girl will like pass him and it's like, they're about to have sex. And then they do.
literally.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that is. I mean, yeah, no, some of the shit's kind of. He's not that does have a trope that a lot of shows do have, where it's kind of like the old drinker, do like not old, but like middle aged man alone at a bar can somehow pick up like any chick, which is
Yeah.
like absolutely ridiculous. Because David Duchovny, I don't know. I mean, he's not exactly what people, at least not in our generation anyway, are looking at like, yeah, that's what I want to get with and everything.
Ooh.
He's
Uh, that was
not
the
a
the
very
show.
conventionally attractive guy.
The show though is loosely based on his life because I think he had a big like sex problem and whatever.
He had a big sex problem. Oh, I didn't know. But
Yeah.
yeah, he seems like it could be one of those things where like I don't get it. Like how Ted Bundy got a bunch. But you look at him now and everyone's like, no, that dude's fuck. But not back then. That
Man,
was what was
they didn't
hot.
have
I was
standard
just saying because
television.
Californication's in. Yeah, right. But Californication's just set in it's a very modern. It's set in modern times, and then he's going after a lot of younger girls throughout the show. I mean, it's L.A. You never know what people are into over there.
That's true. Um, my third show, I don't think I have much to say about it, but Paradise PD, created by the guys who did Brickleberry on Comedy Central. This is on Netflix. They have a season 2 now, and if you've seen Brickleberry, this is Brickleberry, but way more gross out humor and way more swearing because they can get away with that
Right.
kind of stuff. I watched season 2 in maybe 2.5 days, and besides the crossover episode with Brickleberry, I don't think I can tell you what happened. It kind of was like the second season of Big Mouth with me, where I just watched it too fast, and I was like, well, I saw it, but I couldn't really tell you anything.
Right.
I like Big Mouth a little bit more than Paradise PD.
I do too.
Even though I know both are just kind of gross out, dick fuck jokes, but I think Big Mouth is a little funnier and has a little bit more character to it. And I think Paradise PD is just, it is, hey, we're going to show you a prolapsed anus and say shit fuck balls. And that's the episode. Also, yeah, this is an episode, self referential humor. And then credits, and the characters really just are still the like two-dimensional, like, oh, okay, you kind of get the gist from like the first episode.
Right.
It's fun to watch, I'll give it that. It's I heard some never mind, there's some term where it's like, oh, that movie's it's like a whatever movie, it's not filling but you like it.
Oh yeah, I don't know,
It doesn't
but
matter, but that's the kind of show where it's like, you watch and you're having fun, but That's it.
Right. Right. And I mean,
But there's
that's
nothing wrong with that.
definitely, you're right. That's definitely a solid option, especially during these times and stuff. Just something you don't want to focus on overly
Exactly.
too much. Although, yeah,
Exactly.
I get what you're saying about like how Big Mouth's kind of the same thing. And then how it has more character to it. What I think a big difference with Big Mouth is too is that the whole purpose is it's like representing kind of like going through puberty in like middle school and everything like that.
Yeah.
And so all that grossness and everything like that, but with a purpose, like with an underlying purpose the whole time.
Yeah,
Whereas
exactly.
Parrot PD's kind of just like this is what we were thinking about in the writers' room.
It's
Like,
it's literally like, can we get away with this? It's like, is it funny? It's like, no, I will do it.
I love that show. I thought that show was hilarious.
I mean,
I
if
thought,
if if that show came out when I was in high school, I would just listen to it for background noise and like play Pokemon or something. You know what I mean? Like
exactly,
but there's nothing
exactly.
wrong with that kind of show. People
No, that's literally
people
like
hate those
that's the
shows.
same. It's the same like category of like American Dad and Family Guy and stuff like that, where you're kind of just like you could just watch it over and over and over, and then it could be like the background noise. It could kind of be whatever
Yeah.
you can listen in and then kind of follow along. It's not like Walking Dead, a show that I watched. That's one where if you fucking like go to answer a text or some shit and you look up, like you could be completely lost.
Yeah.
Where this show, it's kind of just like it doesn't matter what happened 2 seconds ago because it doesn't really relate to what's happening now.
Exactly.
Well,
Well,
but
James,
yeah,
really quick, are there any guilty pleasures out there that you might want people to watch?
I think I think we had a perfect quarantine day before the quarantine.
Years before the quarantine.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
If you're ever perusing on Netflix and you're just just scrolling and happen to come across Degrassi Next Class, I mean,
You're set
going
up for
back,
this. Hmm.
I don't know if I would give it another click. It's kind of damning, but it's definitely binge.
That needs to be on the poster. It's kind of
Yeah,
damning. It is. It's a garbage show, but
it's
well, we
but it
started.
was
We watched it way back in high school because we thought like, well, how
yeah.
bad could it be? Half a season later, my brother shows up. He's like, "Oh, you guys still watching this?" And you're like, "You have to sit down with us."
I know. We literally like we watched it like, ha, this show's gonna be so stupid. Like it's probably just gonna be corny, whatever. Like we're gonna skip it after 5 minutes, and we start, and then it's just all of a sudden we're like 3 episodes deep, and we're just like, no, this is bullshit. We need to watch more.
And
Like
then,
it's
well, I think if.
everything
Mhm.
that you think that they can't do,
Oh, they
they
do.
fucking do.
They do it to the max. I think it's one of those shows where like 5 or 6 episodes in, we're like, all right, we should be done, and then we realize that there's only a few episodes left. We're like, well, we might as well finish it. We've spent
Right,
this
we
entire
watched
day
the
watching it.
entire season.
We've
We
spent
went
all
to
these
click
time.
another episode, and there were no other episodes. That's literally, I don't know what else makes it, like, how else you can categorize a show as bingeable other than going to click another episode and then just there are none.
when
A show
Netflix
you just
doesn't
started that.
when Netflix doesn't auto start the next one, you're like, oh, something must be wrong.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That that's definitely a show. I mean, if you're literally like, I just need to kill a day, that's the show.
That's the
That's
show.
the show. Because you'll watch, I mean, no, even more than a day, because the day will be watching the season, and then the next day will be just trying to comprehend what you just watched. like and fully internalize it,
Yeah.
and see like how that really got made into a show. People literally gathered together, funneled money into this project, and spent time and effort to make this. And then Netflix bought it.
People learned their lines. Do you understand?
People rehearsed for this show.
They learned their
Literally
cues and their
rehearsed.
blocking.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh man. Well, I think they've got a solid couple of shows to watch.
I think so.
I would save Degrassi for last. That's really gonna require some mental aptitude and
I
time.
I would save Degrassi till after this is over, where you can get some friends, some food, some drinks, to really have the full experience of the show. But everything else, definitely, you can watch on your own and
So
enjoy.
not a show to binge during quarantine.
You can, but I'm saying for the full experience.
No, I get what I just think that's so funny.
Yeah. You know what? Get a fucking Zoom meeting going to watch Degrassi.
Honestly, not a bad idea. That's your that's the new fucking task for quarantine is getting enough friends to join a Zoom call to literally binge Degrassi next class with you. It's They still have the same guy that plays the principal and all the other ones, I'm pretty sure. Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it is a Degrassi.
It's canon.
It's canon.
Yeah.
It's literally canon.
And hey guys, if you are watching anything or have seen anything, anything that you think is a bingeable show during all this, let us know in the comments below.
Definitely. I would love to get some suggestions.
Me too. And thanks guys for watching. We'll see you next time.